Playoff prediction. I feel like that was a good idea, and I want to kind of share my own thoughts on the matter here. Um, let's actually pull this over. Um, One second. All right. So yeah, I just kind of like to share my prediction here. Um, and we're just gonna hop straight into it. I don't really have fancy words or anything. So this is my prediction. I think I got this right. If I didn't, please let me know. But I'm pretty sure I got it right. Um, yeah. So starting off for the first games, I think Iowa versus STD. I think this will be a really close game. But I think Iowa is just a little bit stronger in one their drafts and in two their team fighting. I think STD have a lot of power when it comes to all across the board. Whoops, all across the board power. But I think when it comes to like that mid game and late game team fights, I think IOL is just a slight bit better. Um, okay, I just want to make sure it was working. In the second game, we have GGG versus IQ. I think GGG will pull away with that one. IQ has shown a lot of promise in terms of like not a lot of people I don't think like looked at him as kind of a threat, but they've really changed everyone's minds in that aspect in how they've played and how far they come. Second in their group, definitely a team to look out for. But I think GGG just kind of has the upper hand, kind of for the same reason as IOL versus SCD. I think GGG just have that amazing team fight potential, and GGG have Aloe, who has shown so much growth in this league. Like he has become such a powerhouse in the top lane that it's actually kind of scary. So I think GGG will pull away with that one against IQ. IIG I believe will have the bye. It's still up in the air, but I think IIG will win, so I think they will have the bye. And then we have Hal versus TTM. I think Hal will win this one. I think with Hal's new roster, they're finally kind of coming together as a team and figuring out what they want to do and how they want to play. And that's been pretty evident in the past few weeks that we've seen. Versus TTM are still kind of everywhere with their roster. Like Trevor said, they're kind of coming into who they want to be as a team, but they're not just there yet. And I think that will result in a loss for them against Ham's the only way. So in terms of the IOL versus GGG, the top seed second week match there, I do believe that IOL will come ahead. IOL just has, from all the games I casted with them, they've had this ability to just adapt. And they're so good at adapting that I feel like they have that edge over GGG. It will be another really close game between the two, but I do think that Iowa will pull ahead simply because Etchrom's a monster. That guy is an absolute monster, and I think his ability to roam and carry games is what will lead them to a victory over GGG. I've said this entire league, I think IOL is a little too stacked, but IIG versus IQ. I do think yes, you are, Etram. I do think IIG will win that one. Again, I think it will be a very close game. IQ have shown a lot of promise in terms of like just kind of like silencing like the doubters, and done a lot of work this season to become a better team. Zesty Queso has proven himself to be a top contending jungler and has shown a lot of promise in that role. Rihi, by far one of the best mid laners in the league. And I'm excited to see how he can handle IIG's team composition. Hal versus STD. I do think that STD will pull away with this one. Though historically it doesn't look well for STD because Hal is the only team to 4-0 them. One of the weeks I did sub for Hal versus STD and they also had a sub. So it wasn't two full rosters against each other, which is how I'm assuming this will go. And the other week, STD had already secured top place, so they were just kind of having fun. So it's not exactly good historically, but STD does seem to have a problem playing against how Hal plays. So it will be a close game, but I do think that STD will eventually pull ahead with it. GGG versus IIG. I'm pretty sure I got this right. But I think GGG versus STD will play first, and then the winner of that goes up to the other one, I think, if I'm correct. I do think that GGG will take down STD for a multitude of reasons. One, GGG have statistically a way better bot lane. And a lot of the league is centered around the bot lane, having the bot lane ganks and follow-ups and the 4v4s and the team fights in the bot lane consistently is a huge part of beer league success. And I think GGG have the better bot lane, and the ability to flex between Trooper and Scoobs is also a huge factor. Because if they don't like a matchup that Trooper, like if Trooper's champion pool doesn't like the matchup that into what I think is just buffer in the mid lane for STD, then they can, Scoobs, and then they can put Scoobs into the jungle and put Trooper into the mid lane with something that might do a little better up against it. And that flex has really worked out for them pretty recently in the past few weeks here. So I do think that GGG will pull ahead of STD in that one. In the IIG, GGG versus IIG game, I think GG will pull ahead again. IIG is a good team, but they're not. I don't think they're at that top level in the league as GGG is in IOL and STD for that matter. So I think GGG will definitely pull ahead of Iron Igloos. If Iron Igloos can pull out a pretty spicy team composition, like the Pantheon top with a Nocturne jungle, that's a pretty solid composition that they can play around to kind of throw GGG out their game. But GGG has always just kind of been that team that can come back from a deficit, even though no matter how big. So I do believe that GGG will win that one. In the finals, I had GGG versus IOL. I left this one blank as to who I think the winner will be, simply because that's a hard one. That's a really hard one to predict. Simply because both IOL has that adaptiveness, but GGG are relentless. I honestly am not sure. Again, there's so many power duels between these games. Aloe, on the side GGG has come a long ways as a top laner. In the earlier on this season, he was kind of looked at as like GGG's one weak point, like Aloe, like pick on Aloe, get our top laner hand, we can win the game. But he has proven in the past few weeks that he is not someone really to be trifled with. So, and then GG's bot lane, the freight train duo of Reese and Vermilion, and the flexibility between the mid laner and the jungler makes it really hard to play against this team now that they don't have sort of that such an abrupt weakness. But IOL has two powerhouse duos in Mpex and Really Bad Zed, and then Dana and Etram. If you go back and watch the VODs for IOL. Dana and Etrim go everywhere together. They are constantly turning a 1v1 into a 3v1, and Etrim's constantly roaming to other lanes, picking up the kills, getting that CC down, and he plays such a wide variety of champions that's really hard to get him on something that he's not comfortable on. So it's really hard to predict this one. And I believe in the last series that they played against each other, which would have determined the top of their seeds, they went 1-1, so they're even. I'd probably have to give it to. I'd probably have to give it to IOL. I think IOL will win it all. I think Bradley is by far and away the best mid laner in the league. Mpex has shown a lot of promise on ADC. I was told that he mained ADC before he went to jungle. And he's shown a lot of promise on that in the bot lane with Etrim as a duo. I believe they play really well together. They adhere to each other's strengths really well. And Dana has shown a lot of promise in the jungle as well. She has superior map control. She has really good objective control. She's always on top of the objectives when they come up. She plays pretty high damage junglers in Rengar, Kha'Zix, Rek'Sai, Volibear. And I believe between her and Etrim, they can definitely snowball a game into their favor. But it will be really hard against GGG to do that. So it's going to be a very tough match for both sides, but I do think that IOL will pull ahead in it. And so obviously, like, some of this might switch around. If TTM wins, I believe they're third seed, so they get to bye. And I don't know if Hal could beat IIG. So it really depends. This might change depending on who wins between IIG and TTM to get the third seed. So, because I think IIG have a shot against STD, and that'd be pretty much the only thing that I would say would change in this, is that IIG I think would beat How, and then oh no, there'd be a few that would change, because I think IQ would beat TTM. So yeah, this might be completely different based on who wins the match between TTM and IIG. But yeah, this is my prediction. I think IOL wins it all. This isn't in paint, this is in photos, so I can't edit it. But I think IOL does win it all. Etrim's just too hard to manage. No matter what champion he plays on, whether it be Zillion, whether it be Leona, whether it be just recently a Mumu, showed a lot of promise on that Mumu, who's seen a lot of prominence in the support role recently. And from someone who plays Leona, Amumu's very, very similar. So I think IOL definitely will pull ahead and win it all this season. And you can't forget JWM. JWM has shown monstrous gameplay in the top lane. A lot of times, like, top kingdom his lane opponent. So JWM is also a very solid factor in why I think IOL will win this game. And the fact that you have to throw a set ban at JWM means that that's one ban that's one ban that you, no matter what, you have to throw. So it's really, so then you can't really ban Etrim out, you can't ban Dana out. And yeah, so I think IOL definitely have the best shot at winning it all. And that was very redundant because I said that like 3 times now. But wait. I once Trevor did a power ranking. I kind of want to do the same thing too. Um, I really like that idea. So thank you, Trevor, for that. Actually, let's do top to bottom. Oh. All right. So bottom of the barrel, I do think that TTM are the last ranked team simply because they really haven't found their identity yet. You know what I mean? Like, they don't know exactly what they want to do, what team composition they want to do, and they have like a week and a half, I think, to figure it out. And if they can figure it out, this might change. But as it stands right now, I think TTM is definitely struggling in the league. Oh wait, it was only 7. Sorry, I forgot about that. So TTM. 6, I'd probably have to go with How. I think How is at 6 simply because they seem to have such a problem with running away with their lead. And what I mean by that is they can do so well in the early to mid game, but they can't close out the game. And they have such a hard time with that, or they overstay, or they take bad fights, or someone's just not in position, or someone doesn't rotate down, or they try to look for a fight when the top laner doesn't have TP but the other top laner does, and stuff like that. And that's stuff that they need to really communicate with each other if they want to win against this kind of like monstrous lineup. The way I have them go against STD in the second round. That will be a hard game for them. Historically, not really, because they did 4-0 them. But again, there was a sub the first week, and then the second week, STD had already secured their spot, so they weren't really playing that seriously, which I think was kind of a mistake in that moment, because I think How have a lot to prove, and I think they can, if they shut down STD and knock them out of the tournament, one of the top seeds in the second round, I think that's them proving that, hey, like, we're not a team to like troll against or be trifled with. So if How can figure out their communication, if they can figure out how they want to run away with these games and close out these games, I think they can easily at least make it to the semifinals. In 5, I would probably have to say IIG. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw IQ here as well, simply because I think these two are really close. For a couple of reasons. One, Crimson Chin and Rihi are both ridiculously strong players. So like they know exactly what they need to do. They're super good on the rotations. They both like to play those global champions in like Pantheon and TF and stuff like that. And I think they both can not solo carry, but I think they both can take the teams on their back and maybe lead to a victory. The reason I put IQ ahead of IIG is because in the series that I've seen IQ play, they've had some really good communication and some really good rotations. And that's kind of the thing I want to highlight with IQ, is that they seem to always be where, like Rihi, for instance, kind of is always where he needs to be at all times. And that's a really good quality to have in a player. And that's a lot harder for a top laner to do than a mid laner, given that your teleport is on like a, what is it? I think it's 5 minutes now. It's changed so many times throughout the years, but I think it is on 5-minute cooldown. And IQ is just so good at those rotations that I think that they deserve the spot above IIG, but not without a fight. Like, I think IIG could probably tie for 4th place, but for that instance, I would have to give IQ it. For 3, I'm gonna put STD, and the reason for this being, one, their main strength is in Trevor. Now, Trevor is someone who's really hard to ban out. You can ban several of his champions, but he's always going to get one of his champions during the first round. So it's really hard to ban him out, but I think if you can pick and choose which champion you want Trevor to be on and play around that, because he's pretty predictable. Trevor's pretty predictable. Leave Diana open, he's probably going to pick Diana. If Diana's banned but Echo's open, he's probably going to pick Echo. Because Kha'Zix is pretty much always going to be banned. And if both of those other ones are banned, he'll just pick up Nidalee. He doesn't really play any other junglers. So if you could pick and choose what you want Trevor to be on, I think it will still be a hard match because Trevor is an outstanding jungler. Obviously, like, the best jungler in the league. But I think if you pick and choose and build like a team comp around it, not entirely around it, but choose which champions you want to play against. What's up, Dragula? You can definitely set yourself up for successes against his team. Winnie the G is also a threat on STD's team, but he plays really unorthodox picks, which can be really deterring, but not something that most teams can't handle. So that's why I'm putting STD at the third place spot. Definitely top 3, but I think just a tad bit weaker than the other two. At number 2, I'm going to put GGG. GGG have such strong players. Like, outside of IOL, I think GGG is the most stacked team. The Vermilion Reese duo bot lane is a freight train. Those guys, if they get a lead, they will carry that lead into the mid game and more than likely into a victory. They have Aloe in the top lane, who, as I said, has shown so much promise and so much potential as a top laner. And he was always, like I said, I think he was always kind of seen as like a GGG's weak point, but he's proven everybody wrong in that sense. Playing outstandingly. I just remember that Darius game he played where he literally played perfectly. He played that game perfectly, and they won because of it. So shout out to Aloe on that, and that's why I'm giving GGG the number 2 spot above STD. I think overall their team composition in the players and in their drafts is just better. And then, if you guys couldn't guess, IOL in the first place. I have them to win it all. They have 2 strong powerhouse duos in the DPS of Bradley and Mpex, and the jungle support duo of Etrum and Dana, as well as a very solid top laner in JWM. Just all around, I think the best team in the league. Shown very little weakness, and the times that they do, I feel like it's just more franticness. Like, what do we do? Like, how do we stop this bleeding? Then it is just playing bad. And that's the thing is if they can learn to control the game just a little bit better, I feel like they can easily, what would it be, 6-0 this entire league. So, or I don't know, is it best of 3 for finals? Best of 5? I'm not entirely sure, but I don't know how how it's being chosen to be set up. But how many they're not gonna lose. Best of 3 and then best of 5. Okay, so 7. So they'll 7-0 this entire league if they can just learn how to staunch the bleeding when they are behind, which they rarely ever are. And Etrum, again, is an absolute monster. I don't know what you ranked him at this league, but he's definitely higher than whatever you ranked him. He has shown ridiculous gameplay, always roaming, always where he needs to be, knowing when he can roam, how to roam. His vision control is outstanding. Dana, her objective control is off the charts, like almost as good as Trevor's. Trevor, it's in the name. Like, Trevor likes to have his objective control. And I think Dana is right up at the top with him. GWM, you have to ban set, and that's just one almost guaranteed ban that you have to throw at IOL that will take a ban off the table. And that always feels bad is when you have to ban something. And if you leave it open, he's gonna punish the crap out of you for it. So, and then you have MPEX and Bradley, two of the, I would probably say, I haven't looked at it, but probably two of the highest statistic DPS players in the league. Bradley is the best mid laner in the league. MPEX doesn't main jungle, but doesn't main ADC hasn't made ADC for a long time, but he's shown a lot of promise in that duo bot lane with Etrim. So honestly, guys, I think IOL will 7-0 this entire league. And yeah, so that's my predictions. I'm going to show this again for anybody who didn't see it or has gotten here late. I do have IOL. I can't edit this. It's a picture. So I do have IOL winning it all. GGG, IIG, and STD making it to the semifinals. Again, this is just my own personal opinion. I've casted a lot of games. I've watched every VOD that I haven't casted, and I personally think this is how it's gonna go. Again, it's really all subjective as well. Like if IIG lose to TTM, then things might change around a bit. But this is how I think it's gonna go because I think IIG is gonna win. So yeah, if you guys want to flame me or anything like that for anything I've said, please feel free. But just my honest opinion. And shout out to everybody. It's been really fun to watch Cass play with all of you guys. So I'm looking forward to next season. So thanks, guys.